It began with a letter, one that whispered doom. Imagine a city so rich that scholars, poets, and scientists from across the world called it the center of learning and culture. A city where libraries rivaled palaces, and the word wisdom was almost a person. That city was Baghdad, the heart of the mighty Abbasid Caliphate. Traders, thinkers, and artists filled its mosques and markets. But in one winter, everything that city stood for was about to shatter. February 1258. The world's largest empire, the Mongol Empire, was sweeping across Asia. Their leader, Hulagu Khan, a grandson of the great Genghis Khan, had one aim: to crush all who resisted Mongol rule. His army was a storm, disciplined, ruthless, and unstoppable. Baghdad's ruler, Caliph al-Musta'sim, was a man of faith and scholarship, not war. He believed his city's fame and learning would deter any invasion. But when Hulagu's envoys arrived with a demand for submission, the Caliph made a fatal mistake. He dismissed them, mocking their words and refusing to prepare his defenses. This act of arrogance sealed Baghdad's fate. The Mongols marched west. Armies under Hulagu's command surrounded Baghdad's towering walls. Within days, their siege engines, powerful machines built by engineers from far-off lands, breached the city's defenses. The Tigris River ran cold, as did the hearts of Baghdad's defenders. Inside the city, panic spread like wildfire. Merchants dropped their wares, scholars abandoned scrolls, and mothers clutched their children. Through the winding streets, whispers grew louder. The Mongols are here. But no rumor could prepare them for what would come next. When the gates finally fell, the Mongols poured in like a dark tide. Order turned to chaos. Soldiers rode through the streets, and the clash of steel echoed against marble columns. Baghdad, once known as the city of peace and beauty, became a place of fire and terror. Amidst the chaos, Caliph al-Musta'sim was captured. His palace, once a hall of silk and gold, was invaded. Treasures were seized, books were torn apart, and priceless works of knowledge were destroyed. Scholars who had spent lifetimes studying medicine, mathematics, and astronomy were hunted down like animals. The Mongols had a terrible custom when dealing with royalty. They believed that shedding royal blood could offend the spirits of the earth. So rather than a quick death, they chose something far more brutal. They wrapped the Caliph in a rug and trampled him beneath the hooves of horses. His family, nobles, and close advisors were executed alongside him. The dynasty that had ruled for centuries was wiped out in a single moment. But the horror did not stop with the Caliph's death. Across Baghdad, the Mongols carried out acts of extreme cruelty. Homes were looted, civilians were slaughtered, and entire neighborhoods were burned. Some historical accounts estimate the death toll in the hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions, though the exact number is unknown. By the time the first light of dawn rose over the ruined city, Baghdad was no longer a symbol of civilization. Its walls stood broken, its streets were silent, and its people were gone. The world watched in shock and sorrow as one of history's greatest cities fell into shadow. The Caliphate, once a beacon of power and enlightenment, had ceased to exist. The lesson was brutal and simple. Even the greatest legacy can fall if its leaders fail to see the danger before them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Your support helps us bring more amazing stories from history straight to you. Stay tuned for more epic tales. When the smoke cleared over Baghdad, the Mongol army did not simply leave ruins, they left a warning. What had once been the richest city in the world now lay in ashes. But this was more than a physical loss. It was the end of an age. For centuries, Baghdad had stood as the jewel of the Islamic world. Its libraries, especially the famous House of Wisdom, were filled with knowledge from around the globe. Scholars studied texts from Greece, Persia, India, and beyond. The city's markets were filled with books and ideas, and its mosques echoed with debates on philosophy and science. But in the space of a few days, that world disappeared. The Mongols did not simply conquer Baghdad, they destroyed it. They plundered its riches, razed its grand structures, and scattered its scholars to the winds. There were stories, perhaps exaggerated over time, that the waters of the Tigris ran black with ink from destroyed books and red with the blood of the slain. Whether literal or symbolic, this imagery captured the scale of destruction. Yet even in the face of such brutality, the story of Baghdad did not end entirely in silence. In the years that followed, fragments of the Abbasid family survived. One of al-Musta'sim's sons was taken captive and brought to Mongolia. He eventually married and had children there, though he never played a role in restoring the Caliphate. His lineage would live on quietly, far from the throne. Meanwhile, the world itself was changed. The sack of Baghdad marked a turning point in history. The power of the Islamic Golden Age, a period of unmatched cultural, scientific, and artistic achievements, was broken. Scholars fled to distant lands, carrying with them scraps of what remained. In the West, Europe was starting its own path of transformation, unaware that the collapse of Baghdad's brilliance would ripple across centuries. Back in Baghdad, the Mongol conquest reshaped society. The Ilkhanate, the Mongol state established in Persia and Mesopotamia, ruled over the region. Over time, some Mongols converted to Islam and integrated into local culture. This fusion of traditions altered the political and religious landscape forever. Baghdad eventually recovered in part, the markets reopened, and mosques were rebuilt. But it never regained its old glory as the center of the world's intellectual life. Its libraries remained shadows of their former selves. The Golden Age had passed, and with it went an era of unparalleled human achievement in that region. Historians still debate the long-term impact of this loss. Some say that the end of Baghdad's dominance allowed new centers of learning to rise, in Cairo, Istanbul, and later in Europe. Others see it as a catastrophic rupture in the flow of knowledge that might have linked East and West more closely, long before the Renaissance. Yet the story of Baghdad's fall is not just history, it is a warning. The story of the Abbasids shows that power alone cannot protect legacy. Culture, knowledge, and wisdom require defenders who see threats before they strike. Baghdad stood for centuries because of its open embrace of learning, and it fell because its leaders failed to recognize and prepare for the storm on the horizon. Today, when we look back at that winter in 1258, we are reminded that empires are mortal. The might of armies, the wealth of cities, and the brilliance of civilizations can vanish with astonishing speed when vision is lost and arrogance takes its place. And in that silence, the ghosts of Baghdad still whisper lessons for the world.